Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Matt Rhule and the Nebraska Cornhuskers are continuing to get active in the transfer portal as they land another commitment. Jacob Hood from Georgia. That is 3 straight Georgia transfers winding up in Lincoln, Nebraska. Matt Rhule, and this is something we're going to be talking about a lot in the summer, is acquiring a lot of talent for a coach that we already know is one of the best developers of talent that we've seen at the college football level. Before we get into Jacob Hood and what he might bring to this program and what Matt Rhule is doing in Lincoln, just want to say thank you guys, especially to the Cornhusker fans. We've been talking a lot of their activity in the transfer portal. We've been talking Matt Rhule a lot. These fans deserve good football in Lincoln. Obviously, I'm a Michigan fan, but I do root for Nebraska. Was out there watching a game last year when Michigan was in Lincoln. Some of the best fans in the whole entire country. We say that time and time again. We really do appreciate this sport. So if you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. The support you guys have shown truly means a lot. We love making these videos, but more importantly, love talking ball with you guys in the comment section. Let's get into Jacob Hood. The first thing that jumps out is, one, he's green. Like, he's a 2022 kid, so you're getting 4 years of eligibility. He redshirted this Georgia year. The second thing is the frame. Like, you can't teach 6'8", 340 pounds. The length and the size that this guy has, it's obviously something you can't teach. And obviously you need to get the athleticism up. But the frame, the size that this dude is going to bring to this offensive line is massive. And when you look at what Nebraska needs to do better, it is on both sides of the line of scrimmage. That offensive line, that's not Nebraska football. And Nebraska's a team that normally has a very solid offensive line. The last couple of years under Scott Frost, especially last year, was really, really bad, especially when you have an offense that's so talented. When you look at what they're going to have on the offensive side of the ball, Casey Thompson or Jeff Sims, obviously Anthony Grant at that running back position, a plethora of pass catchers, Eric Gilbert, Thomas Fedone, some wide receivers that you feel great about. And this was a talented team last year on the offensive side of the ball with Casey Thompson, Trey Palmer, and some of those guys. Casey Thompson was just running for his life back there. Obviously, was banged up. He's not a big guy. You don't want him taking too many hits. And that offensive line last year, I mean, there's just really bad. I was going to use the word pathetic. Maybe that's a little harsh, but it was really, really bad. And so you're getting a guy in Jacob Hood who, one, I think probably pushes for an offensive tackle starting spot. But if anything, adds some depth and adds to a guy that you can work with. Again, 4 years of eligibility. He's going to continue to get better from Nashville, Tennessee. Very excited for this. Again, probably not as flashy as a commitment of Eric Gilbert or MJ Sherman from Georgia in terms of how they were recruited and ranked out of high school, but a position of need. I mean, this is a team that needs more bodies, more capable bodies on the offensive line, and they land that with Jacob Hood. What I want to kind of transition to is to what Matt Rhule is doing through the transfer portal and what he's going to be bringing into this program in 2023. One, you got to start with Malachi Coleman. Their number one. This dude continues to skyrocket up the national rankings. And after his Polynesian Bowl, that I'm sure if you're a big Nebraska fan, you saw what he's doing. This dude is truly special. I would be very surprised when 24/7 comes out with their final recruiting rankings for this 2023 class in early February. He's not a top 50 guy. You can't teach 6'4", 200 pounds in the burners that this dude has. Very excited to see what position he plays, whether it's DB, whether it's wide receiver. All I know is whatever position they put him at, he's going to be making some noise. He's a guy that I lean to see on that offensive side of the ball because of the playmaking ability he has, the ball skills he has. But he's going to be a guy that's going to be productive year one for Nebraska. And then you look at the transfer portal. They're bringing in 11 transfers, and some of these guys are super, super talented. Obviously, the 3 kids from Georgia, Jacob Hood coming in, who very excited about just the frame that this dude has and the potential he has at 6'8", 340 pounds. But Eric Gilbert, talk about potential with Eric Gilbert. We saw it as a true freshman at LSU. Obviously hasn't played football the last 2 years, really, when he was in Athens. There's a reason this guy was a top 5 national recruit. There's a reason he was the number 1 tight end prospect 24/7 has ever graded out. I mean, 6'5", 240 pounds. He runs like a wide receiver. He's a matchup nightmare, and if you can get something to click with him, especially that tight end room at Nebraska, it is going to be extremely fun to watch. Obviously, MJ Sherman's another guy who comes in, probably going to play that edge role again. Not necessarily the length of a typical edge defender, but Very, very good traits. He's very explosive and he's very strong. One guy I'm very, very happy for because you see two different ways that Nebraska is approaching this transfer portal. Guys like Elijah Judy, guys like MJ Sherman, guys like Eric Gilbert, Chief Borders. You probably could throw in Corey Collier from Florida as well. Those guys are really, really high potential dudes who are athletic, and you don't get that kind of high school recruiting ranking without having athletic potential. They bring in a couple of those guys who see if you can get their play to click on the field, but you also bring in some guys that you know what you're getting with these guys. Billy Kemp from Virginia, guy that's not really talked about enough, but when that Virginia offense was clicking with Brennan Armstrong a couple of years ago, Billy Kemp's a guy in the slot who's going to make people miss. He's going to create separation. Quite frankly, when you think quarterback best friend, that's Billy Kemp. Very easy access throws. He's going to be a guy that's creating separation, going to be open in those 3rd and 3s, those 3rd and 4s. He's going to be the guy that's going to be working the middle of the field. Extremely excited to see what they can do. And then Ben Scott, just a nails offensive lineman that's coming over from Arizona State. This is more of a guy that you know you're not going to get a ton of years from him in terms of eligibility, but you know you're going to get consistent good play from Ben Scott when he comes to Lincoln. And again, you take a look at it. It'd be a shame if I didn't mention Jeff Sims as well, just because this dude, I think, can be quarterback one in Lincoln. A 6'3", 205 pounds, extremely, extremely athletic. He has a very good arm. You just didn't really get to see him thrive at Georgia Tech just because the talent around him wasn't it. And Georgia Tech is not able to really get that offensive firepower. They were also making that transition from that triple option to more of a pro style offense. It was just choppy all around. But Jeff Sims was a guy that started as a true freshman. That's how talented this dude is. Nebraska can also get him to click. I think he can be quarterback one. As much as I like Casey Thompson, I think Casey Thompson's a phenomenal quarterback. I think Jeff Sims probably has a little bit of a higher upside. I'm interested to see how that quarterback battle shakes out, especially with Casey Thompson missing most of the offseason with an injury. Moral of the story is this Nebraska team is bringing in a lot of talent, and they're bringing in a coach who, we talk about this a lot. Scott Frost could bring in talent. He was bringing in talent to Lincoln. The development wasn't there. There's not a better coach in the country that puts his players in better positions to be successful and puts in develops players. You look at his stops at Baylor and Temple. We say this all the time. Those are stops where he did not win because of his recruiting. He won because of his player development and his scheme. Nebraska has to be very excited because you're going to have the talent, especially with NIL. Like, these fans care. The NIL will not be a problem in Lincoln, Nebraska. Talent acquisition will not be a problem in Lincoln, Nebraska. What the problem has been player development and putting your players in positions to succeed. Matt Rhule, you don't have those concerns. So you're coupling Matt Rhule, who's an expert at player development. Also, by the way, I love the coordinator hires as well, but you're also coupling, this is the program he's been at where he can actually acquire talent. Temple, not a good spot to be. Baylor was, I think, limited on scholarships from the scandals, and he was still winning football games for Baylor. Very exciting time if you are a Lincoln, Nebraska, not Lincoln, Nebraska, a Nebraska Cornhusker fan. Again, out of the Big Ten West, Nebraska and Wisconsin are trending up. Those are the two teams you have to feel as optimistic about heading into 2023. And I know Nebraska fans are saying, we've heard this story before. Yeah, but you haven't heard this story with Matt Rhule as your head coach. Nebraska continuing to get active in the transfer portal. I'm thinking they'll get more active once Matt Rhule gets into this program, goes through spring ball and says, hey, we need more help at certain positions. I'm sure he's watched a lot of the film back from 2022, and that's why he goes out and gets a guy like Jacob Hood. But once he gets his hands on these guys, he sees what players are going to be dudes for him. No doubt he'll have some guys transfer out, but he's going to get active in the transfer portal after spring ball as well. Very, very exciting program to take a look at and to follow. Again, appreciate the Nebraska fans for checking us out. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. We appreciate you guys. We'll talk to y'all later. Peace.